Tonight we're going to be tremendously honored to hear from Rabbi Shay Tahan, taking from his busy schedule, especially Rabbi Tahan's always busy. I imagine right before the holiday of Pesach. So we really appreciate the Rabbi taking from his busy schedule to educate us and about the tremendous wide range of the frequently asked questions and halachot that we have to know as we're on the cusp of Pesach. As I defend for the Rabbi Shay Tahan Shlita.
Shalom Alechem, and sorry for the late. There was some technical issues here, but we're here again, and tonight it's going to be in my house. So we have my family here. You might hear them a little bit on the background, but we'll do a little bit of Hilchot Pesach today, unlike our normal schedule that we do Shabbat classes that speak specifically about Hilchot Shabbat refresher course. Today we'll do some Hilchot Pesach. Let's start with what one is allowed to purchase and what he shouldn't purchase, and specifically let's start with the wine. What kind of wine one should buy for the Arba Kosot in Leil HaSeder. In Leil HaSeder there is a mitzvah to drink 4 cups of wine as a reminder to the 4 leshonot of Geula that the Torah tells us. So we drink 4 cups of wine as Chazal instituted. Those 4 cups of wine have strict didim. First of all, one needs to know that the wine, even though is such that person doesn't like it, even if it causes a person discomfort drinking wine, one is still required to drink those 4 cups of wine. But if you do have such discomfort, or you don't like wine, as we just said, and you do find a certain brand or type that you do like, one should buy this specific type that he would enjoy and like. As the Rambam quotes, that one needs to drink it in an enjoyable manner. And therefore, make sure that before you buy those wine for those 4 cups of wine, you should buy such that it will be enjoyable to you. But if you like any types of wine, the things that we're going to say right now are chumrot on which wine to buy. Not necessarily that all those chumrot are halacha lemaaseh, but rather, as I explained, it's a chumrah that a person should take upon himself. It would be a nice thing. V'tavo alav habracha. So first, let's start with who is obligated to drink those 4 cups of wine. In Pesach, the obligation is not only for men, but also for women. All the mitzvot of Pesach are also for women. Why? There is limudim about it, and therefore women are also obligated, although the mitzvot of Pesach are mitzvot aseh shazman grama. It comes and it's bound to time. It's not constant, and therefore women should have been exempt from such mitzvot, just like we found in other places that women are exempt from mitzvot aseh shazman grama. But here on Pesach, they are obligated. So therefore, they're obligated also in eating the matzah, and they're obligated in also drinking those 4 cups of wine. And also the way you drink those cup of wines is the same by men and the women, with one exception that should be noted, and that is the men should, as we'll learn soon, try to have alcoholic wine. As women, it's better not. They should not drink alcoholic wine, and rather they should drink grape juice. Also, the obligation for 4 cups of wine also lies on children that came to the age of chinuch, which is about the age of 6, 7. They should also drink 4 cups of wine as much as possible. If they can drink the whole wine, the whole cup, they should drink most of it or whatever they can. But again, by children, they wouldn't drink alcoholic wine. Rather, they should drink grape juice, and that's sufficient for them. So how do you drink those 4 cups of wine? The halacha requires one to lean to the left side while you drink those 4 cups of wine. If not, you did not fulfill your obligation. So that's a very important thing. How do you lean? You lean to 45 degrees angle. If you lean less than that, that's not considered leaning. This is how the Oletzion writes in Hilchot Pesach Elek Gimel. Moreover, when you lean, you must lean on something that would be comfortable. You can't lean on the air. You can't just make believe like you're leaning, just tilting to the side, but rather it has to be actual leaning on something, and it has to be in a comfortable manner, because the idea of leaning is to do it in a way that resembles derech cherut, freedom, and royalty, and lying or tilting in such a way that you are on the air, not supported by anything, does not in any way show or express royalty and not freedom. And therefore, one needs to make sure that if he does it on a chair, it has to have a chair with some handles, put some pillows over there. Make sure that before you come to drink, don't say the bracha and then start running around and trying to find a comfortable place or position, but rather, before you say the bracha, everything should be prepared and ready with those pillows or whatever you have that would make it comfortable for you to sit and be at a 45 degrees angle. When you drink the cups of wine, the measurement of the cups should be 3 ounces, not less than 3 ounces. In grams, it's 81 grams. So when you have a cup of 3 ounces, if you couldn't find 3 ounces, more than that is fine. But the problem is that if you're drinking 4 cups of wine, it accumulates to be a very large amount if you don't have the minimum measurement. So it's better to prepare yourself a 3 ounce cup, or a little bit more than that, but not those large cups of 5 ounce, 6 ounce, 7 ounce, and so on, because you'll be drinking a lot, and if the wine has alcohol, it's much harder also. So therefore, you drink that 3 ounce. How do you drink those 3 ounce? One should try to drink those 3 ounce at once. Don't stop between them. The whole 3 ounce at once. Why? Because we found a machloket, the Rambam and the Ravid. How fast, how quick, what is the measurement that how quickly you have to drink a drink, any liquid, in order to say bracha achona, or in our situation to drink, to be yotze the mitzvah of 4 kosot. The Rambam says that it needs to be a shiur of revit, the same amount you would drink a revit, and therefore it would be right away, quickly. The Ravid says, which can last much longer than that, with the measurements of 4 minutes, 5 minutes, up to 9, and even some say 11 minutes. The Maaseh, the halacha is like the Rambam, that it should be done kedei shtiyat revit. And we have a machloket how fast is kedei shtiyat revit. Most poskim say in 2 gulps. There are Or Letzion says in 1. But over here, when we come to the mitzvah of 4 kosot, one should try to do it as the more strict approach, which is at once if possible. If not, at least 2, but not more than that. You drink it once and try to drink the whole 3 ounce at once. Bediavad, if you didn't drink the whole 3 ounce of the cup, it's okay to drink majority of the cup, and with that you fulfill your obligation. So again, it's a 3 ounce, you drink it at once, or it's also fine if you can't drink it all at once to drink it at 2 times, but not more than that. And lechatchila, drink the whole thing. Bediavad, majority. If you feel you can't, so majority would be sufficient as well. Before filling up the cup again, there is a mitzvah that, especially according to the Mekubalim, to wash the cup inside and outside. It's called shtifa vehadacha. Shtifa is from the outside, hadacha is inside. There is a mitzvah to do that. Also, when you fill up the cup of wine, it's better that one should feel for the other, not for himself, as to resemble with that again the derech cherut, the freedom and the royalty approach, that just like a king doesn't fill up his own cup of wine, but others do. Over here, we're trying to show and demonstrate that we are such today, so free people. And with that, you also try to show royalty as well. What kind of wine one should try to buy? And again, most of the things that I'll say are either lechatchila or hidurim that one should try to buy, but if he didn't, it's also fine if he didn't, and he bought a different type of wine. But what should you buy? What's the most preferable? You're going to buy anyway. So what should you look? It's already, it's not like it's more expensive or anything. You're already going to the wine store, so buy something that you say according to all opinions. So first of all, the halacha Shulchan Aruch says clearly that one should try to buy for the 4 cups red wine to resemble the blood that Paro spilled of the Jewish people. And when you buy that red wine, you show with that idea. Also, there's another reason, because in the Torah, wine is called red, and therefore we try to do as the Torah calls it red in few places in the Torah. Therefore, we bring that red wine. Kaf HaChaim says also a hint that in the future, Edom will be wiped out, and Edom is Lashon Adom, red. All those are hints to buy red wine if possible. The Rama brings down that if white wine is more meshubach, it's better. The quality of the wine is better, so one should buy and bring the white wine if that's the better one that he has, or that's what better one that he found. That's the Rama approach. Some say that the Sfaradim go with red wine regardless. On a regular kiddush, not on Pesach, on kiddush on Shabbat, for instance, one could be yotze with white wine lechatchila, and although there are poskim, Rishonim, the Ramban, and others that were machmir on that, but this is how the halacha was posek in Shulchan Aruch Shayin Beit. So over here, that we're dealing with Pesach, it's a little bit more strict because the Shulchan Aruch, although it paskened in Hot Kiddush to be mekadesh on white wine, when we're dealing with Pesach on Arba Kosot, he said openly, and he made sure that one should try to get himself red wine. Secondly, the halacha discusses whether the wine should be cooked or not cooked. Which normally, when a person goes to the wine store, he sees there's mevushal and no mevushal. Now, getting the mevushal has certain advantages that it can't become yain nesech. In other words, once you open it and the cleaning lady moves it around, you have it on the table, especially on Yom Tov and Leil Seder, you have a lot of guests. You have some people that are not Shomer Shabbat and so on. So when you have mevushal, you save yourself from questions of yain nesech. But the Rambam and a lot of Rishonim wrote that yain mevushal is not kasher for kiddush and definitely not for arba kosot. And the reason is because you can't. It's not ra'ui lenasech al gabei hamizbeach. When there was a Beit HaMikdash, they would bring wine and pour it on the altar. That was one of the avodot of the mikdash. Which kind of wine you had to bring? It couldn't be cooked wine. It had to be uncooked. Eno mevushal. The Rambam says, therefore, such wine is also not fit for kiddush or arba kosot. Le'alacha, we don't go like the Rambam. Le'alacha, the Shulchan Aruch was posek that mevushal wine, cooked wine, is kasher, no problem. But the poskim, the Mishnah Berurah, Kaf HaChaim, the Or LeTzion, and many, many others, say that one should try to be machmir, like the Rambam Shita that was strict. The one that was mekel was the Rosh. The Shulchan Aruch was posek like the Rosh. But if one can be machmir like the Rambam and all those Rishonim that came and posek like that as well, so one should try to take that strict approach when we're dealing with Pesach. Another thing that falls under the same category is the different types of wine that have a flavor. Today you have wines in all types of flavor, fruit flavors, extra sugar, extra caramel, all kind of things. Today the wine industry is so big and there's so many different types of wine. So one that goes to the market could see there's a lot of different things and they're all kosher. One could buy such wine or grape juice that has a flavor. It has a flavor of apricot, it's a flavor of apples, whatever they add to it. This is all kosher, but on Arba Kosot, we try to be machmir like the Rambam, to have wine without any extra flavors or extra sugar, just the way it is, the way it was made. So again, this is a chumrah. If one doesn't want to do that, he doesn't have to, but it's a chumrah. Once you go to the store and you buy yourself wine for the Arba Kosot, as we said before, so why don't you buy something that's already, you could be Yotze according to all opinions. So all Etzion writes that does not apply this chumrah to sparkling wine or sparkling grape juice. That's fine. That's not considered the sparkling. They're not considered an added thing to the wine or the grape juice. That should be like sugar or flavors. Rather, that's considered davar she'en bo mamash. Doesn't have any meaning, any substance, nothing. It just some things that were added over there that don't really add to the flavor. It's just sparkling. Therefore, such a thing is permitted. That summarizes very quickly the dinim of cooked wine. There's also another part to that we need to discuss, that is the pasteurizing. The pasteurizing is such that they do it in order to preserve the wine, that it shouldn't get spoiled. Some poskim call that mevushal as well, but since we have no choice because it's pasteurized, otherwise it wouldn't last, and therefore when you buy wine, that's the only thing that you would have. At least when you buy enu mevushal, you should know that it's pasteurized. Why is this an important thing to know? Because the Etzion writes that if a person could make his own wine at his house or at the cellar, wherever he makes it, if he makes his own wine homemade without pasteurizing, that even better. Again, one is not required to do so, but if one wants to go the extra step, the extra mile, and do the mitzvah according to all opinion, the best possible way, he could do it in such a way that he would do it in his house. He's saving himself a lot of different issues and concerns. One of them is, again, the pasteurizing, which is a question. The fact that in the wine companies, wherever they make it, there's goyim that work over there. So normally they're very strict, the kosher wine, to make sure that it doesn't become yain nesech, the goyim don't come close to it. But the Etzion writes this: when you do it in your house, you know for sure that it was made in a kosher way, and no goyim came close to it. The Tshuvot V'Anagot of Steinbuch Shlita, he writes that doing it in the house also saves you another concern, and that is the different additives they put into the wine, even grape juice. They put all kind of additives to preserve it. And those additives, although you can't feel it, you don't feel those additives. But if you ask somebody who's an expert in wine, he'll feel it right away. He'll tell you it doesn't taste as good. It lost some of the flavoring with those additives, and therefore that is something of a concern according to his opinion. And therefore, if you don't have a choice, fine. But if you do have a choice, he also holds that one should do it in his house. That would be much more preferable. So this is when we're dealing with cooked wine. When we're dealing with grape juice, why shouldn't a person get grape juice? Grape juice is the best, it's easiest to drink. The answer is that there are poskim, the Pri Chadash brings like this, that wine with alcohol is meshaker umesameach. There's a certain ma'ala that on Leila Seder you should have wine that's meshaker umesameach, brings you happiness, brings you a little bit high, and that wine with a little bit of alcohol even has the ability to be meshaker umesameach, bring you a little bit of happiness. It makes you a little bit high. That is something that one should try to have on the 4 kosot. Another thing, some say that when you have grape juice, you have a problem that the ability to be meshaker or mesameach, as we just explained, to ferment and become alcoholic, was taken away from it. It would, the companies take or stop the ability from from the grape juice to ferment and become alcoholic wine. And that could be a problem. According to Rabbi Elyashiv, it's not kosher even to say borei pri hagefen on grape juice. We don't go like that because majority of the poskim argue, but there is an approach like that, and one that wants to be machmir, to take that opinion as well and be machmir and not by himself grape juice, especially for the arba kosot, tavo alav habracha. Rav Shlomo Zalman says that it's not a problem because at the time that they pressed the grapes and they made the grape juice before taking away the ability to ferment, at that time it was able to ferment, and therefore it preserves the bracha for pri hagefen, and one could use that for arba kosot. But again, there is a ma'ala regardless, there's some advantages of buying real wine with alcohol because of that idea that it's meshaker, it's mesameach, it's a very, very important thing on those arba kosot. How much alcohol one needs to have, that's also a subject of a machloket, but lemaaseh, if one wants to get the minimum amount, I think it's 3.5, that's I think the least that out there or something around that. That is sufficient, and one could buy that as well. Rav Shlomo Zalman writes a chidush nifla. He says that today in the companies they store a lot of wine, and in order to store, you can't store bottles of juice or barrels of juice in such quantities. So the way they do it is they vaporize the wine when it gets to the company. They vaporize it to 1/5 of the amount that it was before. They make it concentrated. So before it was, let's say it comes in from the field as a grape juice. And in order to store it, it takes a lot of space. So what do? Vaporize it. It becomes 1/5 of that amount of very concentrated type of liquid. And when they're ready to sell it, they add the 4/5 to it. They add some water or with other things, and now it's ready to be shipped, put into bottles, glass bottles, and shipped and sold in the stores. Rav Shlomo Zalman said in Alichot Shlomo that that's a problem. Also in Alichot Shlomo, that's a problem. He says he's not sure that such a thing is kosher for kiddush because at the time that it was concentrated, you couldn't drink it. It was very concentrated to the point that you couldn't drink it. And therefore, since you couldn't drink it, the bracha then for sure shouldn't be borei pri hagefen, and kiddush wouldn't be able to say on it. So restoring it and bringing it back to the original status might not be able to help anymore. Could be that it's too late. It's not considered anymore wine in order to make on it to make on it kiddush and to drink for the arba kosot. This is how he held. Rav Steinbuch held like that as well. Rav Shlomo Zalman was mesupak. He just said not to use it. Rav Steinbuch said definitely not to use it. But Rav Belsky, in his Sefer Shulchan HaLevi, writes in length to argue on that opinion, and he felt that it's fine to use that mechanism of arba, of concentrated grape juice that is restored for arba kosot. This is a very, very, very quick summary for the types of wine that one needs to use and the way you'll drink those types of wine. Let me just run through some things that one needs to do before Pesach in the few minutes that we have left, and then we'll take some questions. Before Pesach, there's a lot of different, there's a lot of confusion for many people. What's permitted, what's not permitted. Let's just, and therefore, because of that confusion, because of that idea, there is, we tried for years already, and we're doing this for years, we try to help out people with the Bet Horaa that we have. And we'll speak about that towards the end, but let me just review some of the questions that come about over and over again. For instance, many people think that whatever they have in the house, they have to take to some koshering place, and they pay over there an arm and a leg to kosher every little thing that they take. So a knife that they have in the house, they take to a koshering place, they pay for it $10. The whole knife doesn't cost $10. They take a pot and they pay an arm and a leg. Again, I don't know the prices, but I know it's not cheap. Where you can really do it in your house, and it's very, very simple to do it. The very first thing you need to do when you do a gala, or you're trying to kosher your kitchen, is to make sure that you do it in a safe environment, safe place. In other words, there's no kids around. So if you want to do it while the kids are still in school until, and not wait for Erev Pesach. So when the kids are in school, the house is free and you can do it without anybody interrupting or anybody coming between your feet, because we're dealing with boiling water and fire and all kinds of things like that. That is something that you should always have in mind. Whenever you do a galat kelim or anything else, you should not have your kids anywhere close to it. Now, how do you do it? Very simple. Take a pot, the biggest pot you have in your house, whether it's meat or dairy. And it's preferable if you can wait 24 hours, but if you didn't, it's also fine, especially Sfaradim are more lenient about that. But normally pots that you have in your cabinets are such that you didn't use 24 hours, especially the biggest one. What is there already to cook in such a big pot? And you fill it up with water. You don't have to fill it up all the way to the top. You do 3/4 or whatever. And you boil it on the fire until it starts bubbling. Close the pot with the cover in order for the procedure to go much quicker. Once it's bubbling, you take anything that needs a gala and you put it inside. Make sure you do it in a safe way. Either use those yellow big gloves that you can put in hot water and you don't feel anything, or hold it with something that you wouldn't come to touch the water. You do half. Let's say you take a small pot and you put it inside the big pot. You take the first half, you take it out, then you flip it, you put the other half, and that's sufficient. You don't need to put everything at once inside. How long does it need to be in the water? A second or two, that's it. Then you take it and you put it under a stream of water on the faucet, and that is the way you'll do a gala on all those things, whether it is pots, whether it is knives, forks, whatever it is. The rule is, though, that whenever you have something that was used normally with cold, so you don't need to make a gala on it. So your cups, for instance, that you use normally with cold, you don't need to do a gala, you just wash them. Pots that you normally use on the fire, then you'll do for such things a gala. So keep that in mind. One that isn't sure whether something needs a gala or doesn't need a gala, whether washing is sufficient, could reach out our Bet Horaa and our rabbis in our Bet Horaa will be more than happy to help. Now, when you do a gala on anything, you have to make sure that it's fully clean before you do the gala. Make sure it's 100% clean. There's no rust on it. Sometimes there's discoloring. That's not a problem. But rust should be removed. Some things you don't need a gala. Sfaradim hold glass does not need a gala. And therefore, if you have Duralex or Kollel or anything like that, or those cups that are made out of glass or bowls that are made out of glass, doesn't need a gala. Ashkenazim, for Pesach, don't use it at all. Glass, they put away. They hold, it's like kli cheletz, it's like earthware, like clay, that you can't do a gala, you put it away. So that's a quick summary. What about cleaning the kitchen? All those things, believe it or not, I have a class that I call how to kosher your kitchen in 10 minutes. You could kosher the whole kitchen in 10 minutes, no problem. And I show you exactly how, if anybody wants to look it up. So obviously, the koshering is after you cleaned out the kitchen. The cleaning out the kitchen is a big job. But once the kitchen is clean, you make sure that everything is clean. Once the kitchen is clean, you can kosher your kitchen very, very quickly. The oven itself, if you have a self-clean, you put it on the self-clean 2 hours, and you don't need to do anything. Everything comes out after self-clean, brand new, just like you bought the oven brand new. And therefore, nothing needs to be done if you don't have self-clean. So therefore, then you have some things that you'll need to do. You'll need to clean the oven very well. Inside, use the easy off for the best results. And then you wait 24 hours. After you wait 24 hours, put it on the highest degrees that you have for a couple of hours and cover the grates inside, the metals inside. is because when you do in the way I explained without when you don't have self-clean, it's considered libun kal, not libun chamur, and therefore for such a thing, the grates needs to be covered. You just cover them with aluminum foil and so on. When we're dealing with other things that are on top of the oven, as the stove, over there, some are very strict to cover everything, and that's a nice thing after koshering, covering everything. But if one doesn't want to cover, strictly halakha, you don't need to cover. All you need to do is, after you clean it very good, you pour boiling water on it. Boiling water, the best possible way to do it, says of Shlomo Zalman, is to do it from an electric tray. You take the electric tray while it's on the fire, it's still boiling and bubbling, and you pour it. That is the best possible way. With that, you koshered it again after you cleaned it well. Same thing would be for counters. You clean the counters very well, you dry them, and then you pour from the boiling kettle, water kettle. If you don't have water kettle, so you could use just the pot with the boiling water and it to spill there. And you'll do the same thing for the sink as well. You clean it very well. After you clean it very well, you dry it. It has to be dry, because if it's wet, then the water that touches it cools down, and you spill water going from the bottom towards the top, because if you spill first from the top, by the time it gets to the bottom, it cools down. This is a very, very quick summary in the very little time that we have. Anybody that wants to know any of the halachot we spoke in more detail, or review them, or if you have any other question, I have hundreds of classes on Pesach that you could go. You can go to Torah anytime, or my website, or find it in so many different ways, and get to know all the different details of the halachot. Once you learn that halakha, it doesn't help you out only for this Pesach. You'll learn it and you'll know it for all the future Pesach as well. Not only that, you'll learn about koshering, so you'll know how to kosher things also for year-round if something becomes treif or so on. And so many different questions that you might have. Most of those questions were asked already so many times by others, and you'll be able to get yourself an answer just by looking at those things. And if you don't, reach out to a Bet Torah, or you can always do that. Rabbi, any questions, dear Rabbi? Are you still there? Going once. Going twice. I think Rabbi left us to learn a little bit more. So Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, I'd like to speak to you about, in the few minutes until Rabbi comes back to us, about the measurements that we will need to use for Pesach itself. Halakha l'maaseh, there's so many different opinions about everything. Pesach is just like anything else, that there's opinions over opinions over opinions. What is the halakha without going into many opinions? So when we're dealing with the measurement of the matzah, the measurement, obviously, the requirement is a kazait. How much is a kazait? 27 grams. How much is it in ounces? 1 ounce. How do you measure an ounce? Ounce is the schnapp cup, is the small cup. So now imagine you have a matzah and you need to grind it and put it into that cup, into that small schnapp cup. How much of that ground matzah would you be able to put in there? Not so much. The Or Letzion says it's about a third of the round matzah. And with that amount, you be yotzeh the mitzvah of matzah. In the beginning, you eat 2 of those, and then you eat another third of a matzah for korech, together with the maror. And then in the end, you eat also the afikoman. When we're dealing with a third of the matzah, eat a little bit more, because some of the matzah gets stuck on your teeth, on your gums, and you really need to swallow that matzah. How fast do you need to eat that matzah? It's preferable to eat that kazait within 4 minutes. So 1 kazait, 4 minutes, and the second one kazait is another 4 minutes. How could you eat matzah within 4 minutes? It doesn't sound like it's so much possible. The answer is, says the Or Letzion, that you need to chew it before you start swallowing. So if a person chews the matzah, You could chew it for 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes before you start swallowing. You can put it on your cheeks over here, fill it up. Again, while you're leaning on a 45 degrees angle on your left in a comfortable way on something comfortable. And then when you want to start the time ticking, you start swallowing. As soon as you start swallowing, that is when the time starts ticking, and then you'll be able to eat it within a couple of minutes, the whole kazait. It's not so much of an issue. When we're dealing with maror, also maror, which the best thing to use is the lettuce, the Roman lettuce if possible. You'll need to use that maror also of a kazait. Again, it's not a lot because it's the size of a schnapp cup, and we deal with volume, not weight. And therefore, the amount that goes into the schnapp cup is sufficient, and it's not a large amount. You eat that within that amount of time. That's already much easier because it's easy to swallow. And the maror you don't eat while you're leaning on your left. But when we come to the korech is already that together with the matzah, the maror together with the matzah. You put a little bit of charoset and you shake it off, and that is also another kazait. This is a quick summary. Again, if Rabbi is there, we'll see what the questions that are there for us. I don't know how to find those questions myself, but if he's not there, I have to, I guess, then about our Beit Horaa. If anybody wants to text me directly or WhatsApp me directly, my phone number is 347-666-3467. Again, 347-666-3467. Again, you can go into our website or go and see the shiurim on Pesach or anything else in halacha that we have in Torah anytime. You can just write rabbishaytahan.com. That takes you straight into my page on Torah anytime. If you want to go into our website, it's called askhalacha.com. Askhalacha.com has many of the shiurim. Or if you just Google anything with my name, Shay Tahan, and a question together with that on Pesach, usually anything comes out. So if you want to know about how to kasher an oven, how to kasher pots, how to do a gala, what needs gniza, what needs tvila, how do you dip kelim in the mikveh, how do you clean different types of vegetables and greens from worms. I have many shiurim showing and demonstrating hands-on how to clean all kind of things. So let's say you want to know lettuce, write my name, Shay Tahan, and you write lettuce. Now you'll see exactly how to clean those vegetables, those greens. And with that, we'll end for tonight. And thank you for joining us. Chazak u'baruch. Thanks for everybody that participated. Have a kosher Pesach, Be'ezrat Hashem.